Ladies and gentlemen, this of course is the brand new Ford Mustang Shelby GT500, and it's going to be hitting the dealerships in the fall. You know what other car is going to be hitting the dealerships very soon? Yep, the brand new C8 Chevy Corvette. And you might be asking yourself this very simple question: what's the difference between the new Shelby and the new Vette? And in this video, we're going to let you know, because Ford dropped an important number, and that number is 10.6. What is 10.6? Well, stay tuned to find out. Of course, the biggest difference between the new Corvette and this Shelby Mustang is this. Not just the engine, but where it's located. In the Vette, of course, it's mid-engine, and here in the Mustang, it's where it's always been, in the front. Now, of course, the Vette has the new LT2, and this has a 5.2 liter V8 that produces 760 horsepower and 625 pound-foot of torque, made it to a 7-speed dual clutch. The Vette, well, at least the initial new Corvette, will have a 495 horsepower engine. So horsepower-wise, the Mustang has it by a lot. Now, both the Vette and this new Shelby are going to put out a lot of heat. In fact, 760 horsepower puts out so much heat that this GT500 has 50% more cooling area than the GT350. Now, to get 760 horsepower at the wheel, you have to put out more than 800 horsepower at the crank, as I found out from one of the lead engineers. How important is cooling, and how much cooling does that engine have?
Given that the supercharger is belt driven off the engine, you have to overcome its parasitic losses. Yeah. So you're making effectively 850 horsepower at the source. That is heat. Yeah. In terms of the engineering development of this program, we got to the end of our analytical sign-off phase, where we were kind of pencils down and we go build prototypes. And cooling was the last great mystery to us. We knew it had to cool for our 24-hour endurance and our sustained capability. We had to be able to run a track session, full tank of gas with no loss of power, and that was the goal. And that required a lot of innovation around the cooling, and we had to redesign the cooling system multiple times through. And what that walks us into then is what the vehicle looks like. To cool it, it had to have massive front end openings. And what that results in, obviously massive cooling capability, but it puts a lot of air into the underhood that we had to deal with. And that's why you see the hood vent. It's also why you see the hood pins. You know, when you get up to the top speed on this thing with that amount of air coming through the coolers, you know, it was blowing the hood. You know, so we had to lock the hood down, and that's fundamentally why the front end looks the way it does. It's all about cooling.
The C8 new LT2, of course, is normally aspirated, but this Shelby 5.2 liter V8 isn't. It's supercharged, and it's got a supercharger about the size of my forearm. Now, does that mean that the Vette won't be supercharged at some point? Well, hold your breath, because you got to know that Chevy is keeping some horsepower under its hat. I remember when we talked and you did the last generation Silverado, and you said that was kind of a fist in the wind.
It was, yeah.
Was there anything like that? Is there kind of an analogy that you had in your mind when you were doing this?
To me, it was probably a light jet fighter aerodynamics.
Yeah. The Vette and the Mustang have one other thing in common, and that is, of course, this. They are both available with only one type of transmission, and that is a dual clutch. In the Mustang, it's a 7-speed. In the Vette, it's an 8-speed. Now, why is there no manual? Well, probably because with that much power, you're probably going to have a hard time shifting it for yourself. And a dual clutch is always going to be more efficient, it's going to be faster, and it's probably going to be, well, just a lot quicker around the track.
So when we made the decision on the transmission, there was the option to do a manual like we have in the GT350 today, to really put down the really impressive performance numbers. We wanted the auto. Our 10-speed doesn't have the torque capacity. It doesn't have the ability to personalize it as much by drive mode. Porsche PDK GT3 was our benchmark in terms of transmission functionality, and I think we nailed it. But yeah, the transmission decision was as much as what's the best performing transmission that we could put in the vehicle. Last thing we want to do with an all-new engine like ours was to begin derating by gears.
Check it out. This Shelby GT500 has carbon fiber wheels. In fact, the carbon package on the new Mustang is $18,000. It starts over $70,000, and if you check all the boxes, get all the bells and whistles, you're over $100,000. Now, Chevy has said that the new Vette will start at $60,000, but I'm betting that that one won't be available at least for a year, because you can bet that not only will this car have a market surcharge, but the Corvette as well. So a $60,000 Vette or a $70,000 Shelby, those are probably a couple years off. So you might be wondering at this point, will the Corvette and this Mustang compete for the same customer? That's a really good question. In the past, the answer probably would have been no. But today, when you think about it, the Corvette has kind of moved up into the supercar world, and Ford says that this, in all practicality, is also a supercar. So yeah, I'm betting there's going to be some cross-shopping.
I think historically they've been two different customers.
Yeah.
Given Corvette's pricing strategy, you know, there may be more cross-shopping.
Yeah, because they're saying $60,000, right? I'm not sure that car will be at the dealership, but
yeah, I don't know if you'd be able to find one,
but at least not the first year.
I think we've taken our GT500 by some measures into sort of supercar territories. So I think on an attribute level, we've taken it into kind of their world. On a pricing level, they've sort of come down a little bit for the mid-engine content. It'll be interesting to see how the customers react to that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to get out on the track and see, you know, which of these two iconic American cars is the faster of the two.
It's on my list of things to do.
I bet, yeah. So the question, of course, is Snake or Stingray. Of course, the Snake will be available first starting this fall, the Corvette early next year, but that's close enough that you guys might cross-shop it. Now let's talk about numbers. Chevy says 0 to 60 in 3 seconds for the new C8, and Ford, of course, says 10.6 seconds, 0 to 100 to 0. And how fast from 0 to 60? Well, I asked that very question of the engineer. And the number that you announced today was 10.6. Which is right, 10 seconds to go from 0 to 100 back down to a 0.
Yeah, so we're very, that really is a total vehicle measurement, right? The power and torque you do on dyno, enabled by exhaust systems, of course, but that's really just a powertrain number. To put that into the total vehicle, 0 to 100 back to 0 in 10.6 seconds is really closer to supercars than it is to our primary competitive set. We gave the analogy today that you know, you can do this in 800 plus feet, total feet, which is less than the deck length of a aircraft carrier, and some of our primary competitors would be swimming.
Off the end of the boat. Why no 0 to 60 number?
We're looking to do a very specific type of time.
Yep.
And we're still working to get that arranged through the appropriate certifications.
I take it it'll be less than 5 seconds. Is that fair to say?
It'll be mid threes or better, yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
The car does everything well.
Yep.
It would have been easy to make a straight line car, and we've done the track cars before. To get a car that did everything really, really well was the goal. We've known how to do supercharged engines, but the transmission really is a really cool factor with this car.
Well, that only leaves one question. Which one of these American cars is faster? Well, the only way to find out is to hand them over to our race car driver, Paul, and have him take it around the track. So as soon as we can get our hands on both of these, we'll put them up against each other and we will find out, is it Ford or is it Chevy? I can't wait. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Remember, check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and of course, Shelby versus Stingray versus Snake versus Mustang versus, well, you know, a lot of names. See you guys next time. Ciao.